And we have another panelist coming to the stage, one of my favorite new dentists out there, Dr. Parth Patel. Dr. Parth, tell us a little bit about your story, your role in the dental world. You are still in the 0 to 2 years out of school, technically a baby age dentist, said in the most affectionate way. I classify dentists like periodontal disease. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I think I'm probably the newest in the group, but I graduated from Case Western in 2022, and then I did an AGD at Idaho State, just a super rural town, really small town, Idaho, for a year, and just started my associateship in August in Philadelphia.
I love sharing that. Now we're going to deep dive into your story, but just tell us, and we've talked about this before, what was the value of doing an AEGD? Why would you do it again? Why were you not like, oh, I'm just want to, there's no judgment, just an observation, but sometimes dentists say, I want to get into practice, make money, be in the real world, but you paused and did extra training. Tell us about that training and why you were glad you did it.
Yeah, I think it just kind of set me forward probably like 3 to 5 years ahead of new graduates, just in terms of procedures. So I think Case Western did an excellent job in restorative dentistry, but we didn't do any implants. I think I did like 2 single canal root canals. Like I wasn't ready to do any of that stuff. I think I only did simple extractions in dental school. So I just felt really limited when I came out. I was just like, how am I going to earn a living by just doing fillings and crowns all day? I'm sure I could, but the grind is a little bit tougher. And so I kind of started looking into CE and just thought this is probably going to take me at least 3 years to get where I want. So that's why I decided to take that year just to learn. So, I mean, that residency was great because we did a ton of molar endo. We placed about 40 implants in the year. So that
That's
was a great
amazing.
experience. Yeah. Got my sedation license. So I can do IV sedation now. Did a full mouth rehab, which I'm not comfortable doing yet in private practice, but at least got the experience of
Yeah.
it. So, I think it definitely, in terms of CE and stuff, it would have taken me at least 3 to 5 years to get there.
And also just to share, the way we charge for things in dentistry, how should I describe it? Wild and totally insane.
Yeah.
Because let's say a class two, let's say you go in tomorrow and it's 9 a.m. Parth, and I'm going to pay you, I'm your boss. I'm going to pay you $100 no matter what, either procedure, right? I'm going to pay you $100. You could do a class two composite on number 18, or you can place an implant on number 30. Which one are you picking?
The implant. I mean, even if the money was the same, I'd
All
probably
right.
stress less with an implant than I would
Yeah.
on like an MOD for a tooth, which it
So
sounds crazy, but it's not.
a class two composite could just, it's a great argument. It's technically more difficult than a more straightforward implant.
I'd say
So
so, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, it's just to show our audience that what we learn in dental school about quote unquote bread and butter, I call it kale and quinoa because no one eats bread and butter anymore. It's just awesome when you can learn these skills. Now tell us about, because you're so new, tell us about, not messing up your associate job decision, right? Tell us what you did. I'm so proud to have helped you with Dentist Job Connect, but it's your time. Kind of tell us, what were you thinking? When did you start applying, and what would you recommend for our audience?
So I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but I ended up interviewing for like 40 offices. So
That's
those were
awesome.
phone interviews, and I probably visited about 6 to 8. But I think early on when I was looking, I did this residency, I did all these procedures. What I found was that I talked to a lot of people that were like, oh, we'll start you out with the restorative stuff, and then we'll maybe mix an implant 6 to 8 months later. And first of all, I just kind of wanted to jump right into it because I took the year to learn all that stuff. So I think early on, probably the first 20, it was just like, man, no one's letting me place implants. No one wants me to do molar endo. People were terrified that after a year, I was going to come and do sedation for them. So I think that's when I chatted with you, and you just said, you know what, just go apply to like 15 jobs tonight. That's like
Yeah.
the only goal. And you were like, there's nothing more to it, but send your resume to 15 more tonight and just see what happens. And we kind of talked about just bigger cities because I think my main thing was let's just make sure there's a big airport nearby so I can visit friends and family. That was like the one thing I wanted. So I applied all across the country to like 15 more at the time. I interviewed for all of them, and all of a sudden there was all these options on the table for me.
Yeah.
So I think early on I was really location driven. And the one thing you said was just go apply to 15 jobs all across the
Yeah.
country. Obviously apply to places you would want to live, but open it up to like more than what
Yeah.
you're doing now. And I must have interviewed at all 15 of those spots, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I don't know. I have no idea which one to pick.
Yeah.
So
You had too many good choices. And I want to interject because you did such a great job. First of all, it's just great to talk to other dentists, whether you want to work from or not. You learn something from them, right? What did you learn from these phone calls, FaceTimes, and more importantly, the office visits? Like, you're sheltered in dental school and residency. Now you're literally standing next to these dentists in their practice. These are golden opportunities to learn whether you accept the job or not. Tell us a little bit about what you learned on those office visits.
Yeah, I think I just realized that even if the procedures are the same or it's what you want, every single office you'll visit is completely different, from the office culture to insurance versus fee for service versus how many implants versus how much restorative, all that stuff they expect you to do. There was not a single office that really was the exact same. So I think that was really eye opening to see, like, hey, like maybe I'll make less money here, but I can learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
This office is asking me to work more hours versus this one. This office on paper is perfect, but actually I hate the entire staff. I can't get along
Yeah.
with them. So that happened at one, which they weren't bad people or anything, but I was like, I just can't work with these people all year. So I think I realized that you could look at the spreadsheets and the production numbers and what procedures they're doing, but that's just one little thing. There's too many things to think about. So kind of seeing it in
And
person.
you need to see them in game, right? Sitting
Yeah.
across from that coffee shop, you need to see them in game. If I use the dating example, people could be super nice getting, a fancy drink at a bar for happy hour, but watch them, doing their laundry on Thursday night, trying to balance a bunch of things. That's what,
Yeah.
and I using that from a book, they say that's what real dating should be like, right? And that's why you want to see it in game. I didn't ask you, what was your first job on earth prior to dentistry? What'd you do? What was your first job? Lauren was an optometrist, front desk team member.
Yeah. Not as cool as her. I was a dishwasher in high school.
Well, you still had to learn to work as part of a team. So
Yeah.
now just tell our audiences. So you apply to these jobs, you go on these office visits. How did you select the job? And now how has your first 6 months in this job been?
So I think this one, for me, going to rural Idaho, I hadn't seen any friends or family for a year. That was really tough. I missed some weddings, some birthdays. So my first thing was like, all right, let's pick a city where I can directly fly, and make sure we don't miss any of that stuff for the next few years. So Philadelphia really hit the bill for that. And then this job specifically, I think there was a lot of opportunity in terms of, at first I thought, the word DSO kind of scared me. But then once I started interviewing with these guys, I was like, this is the perfect fit because they have about 35 locations in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So one thing is I have a main office, but I travel a lot, to office to place implants, which is kind of my big thing. Like I just want as much surgery opportunity as possible.
And you
So
have the other dentist there, you told me, which is totally normal. They're even referring you implants
yeah,
because
yeah. So
that's not something they learned in school.
yeah, two of the main offices I work at, I'm one of four dentists at both of them, but no one places implants out of any of us except for me. So internal referrals is huge for us. So, and a lot of our patients, even at the offices I'm at, will travel from the other offices just to see me for implant stuff. So I think in terms of me getting the opportunity, it was huge. And then just mentorship, that was a big one. I kind of told everyone that I interviewed with, like, I don't think I need you in the operatory per se, like holding my hand, but after hours, it'd be nice to review some CBCTs and look at some of this stuff and, just treatment plan together. And
I
I
love,
really, with this job specifically, I really got that.
and that's why I talk about mentorship, money, and morale. The balance has to be all. You have to want to walk into the job. Doesn't matter how much money make. If you don't want to walk in and the morale's not good, that's not going to be acceptable. What does the mentorship look like? But mentorship can be through Zoom. So as we wrap up, Parth, instead of maybe asking you what you wish you did sooner, I want to compliment you, and I'm allowed to compliment whoever I want on this show and make you feel embarrassed. That's okay. Whenever I have something, you always show up. So I remember distinctly, I had Dr. Mark Costas come to Philadelphia. And I
Yeah.
said it was free to come, right? I put one of the most amazing dentists on stage. It was free to come. And you made the time to come after work and sit there. And I'm sure you were tired. I'm sure you're busy. And a lot of new dentists didn't. A lot of new dentists and dental students didn't show up, didn't make the time. I mean, I brought this person literally into our backyard. So it's not that I'm angry that the other dentists didn't show up. I'm just asking you, would you tell some of these young dentists, show up at these places, put your face in these places? You came to that event probably tired, but what do you get out of constantly showing up?
I mean, you kind of hit it. Like, you always meet people at these events, which is crazy, but like, I think at that one, I don't know if it was that event or another Notches event, but I've been trying to figure out a new surgical guide system. And I talked to Dr. Limbarakis there.
Yeah.
And he kind of got me into like his surgical guide system. So even just like I wasn't there to learn anything surgery wise, but just the person next to me drinking a cocktail with them, it's like, oh, I'm using
Yeah.
the system. That's the system I use now, the same lab, everything.
And that's what Mark would love that because he always says most of the learning happens at the cocktail hours or the
Yeah.
coffee times, not just on stage. And I just, get confident because it also makes you feel less alone. Lauren shared she has this text group. You got to feel less alone. Dentistry is an incredibly lonely profession, even though you're surrounded by people. And until you are in the real world of dentistry, that doesn't resonate. Because in dental school, you're with 150 other people going through the same misery. So you may be miserable, you may be stressed, but you're not alone. And I just, want to inspire dentists to be like Parth. Show up when you're tired, and you're just like going to the gym. You're always glad that you did when it's over.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
100%. I would agree.
Uh, Awesome. Well, people can text Eagles to 215-798-9897 to connect with the Dudat group on Job Connect. But if they want to follow you on Instagram, Parth, or reach out to you, ask you about your implant training, ask you how you get your beard to look so nice, whatever they want to ask you about, how can they reach out to you and do that?
Yeah, I'll put my phone number and my Instagram in the chat, so either's fine.
Oh, awesome. Instagram's Parth Patel, right? Is there an underscore in there?
There is an underscore. That's why I was going to type it.
All right, cool. We'll put that in the chat. We'll put that in the Facebook Live. Well, thanks
Sure.
for being you, Parth. I really appreciate it. You inspire a whole generation of dentists, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Thanks for having me.